So that was the short speech, so buckle up. Shakespeare, wow. Welcome everyone to the Irish Writers' Centre. So just to start, I just want to reiterate a few of the housekeeping points. Please take note of the exits, and in the unlikely event of a fire, make your way to the nearest exit in an orderly fashion. But be sure to buy some books on your way out. And now, welcome to the launch of Bitter Angel Blues. So it's taken me quite a while to finish this one. When I was working on it, I did set myself deadlines, of course, finishing it before I die being one such deadline. But in retrospect, my deadlines were probably a bit too loose. And to paraphrase the immortal Peter Ustinov, not only did he set himself ridiculously low targets, he then failed to reach them. And I mean, to be honest, it wasn't for lack of motivation or enthusiasm or talent, well, it wasn't for lack of motivation or enthusiasm anyway. I always had the end game in sight. I'm a great believer in the power of visualization. So before I had even finished the first draft of the book, I was already visualizing what the book launch would look like. And it looked exactly like this evening. Almost. In my vision, I was wearing an Armani suit. I had a gold Rolex watch and a six-pack and amazing hair. So anyway, 1 out of 4 ain't bad. After many false starts, I finally reached the end of the book. But all endings start with a beginning. And this particular journey, it started at a writing workshop, actually in this building, I think, a few years ago. The writing workshop was organised by June Considine, who's here tonight. I had just finished my previous book, The Million-Selling Talking Squirrel Blues, and I was keen to take 2 of the characters from that book on their own journey of discovery and destruction. So as part of that workshop, we had to write a scene for a novel that we were working on, or in my case, possibly thinking about perhaps working on maybe someday. Maybe someday is my favourite phrase in the English language because it's so full of hope and possibility without the annoying need to actually do anything. So the scene that I workshopped that day, it eventually found its way into the eventually finished novel. So I'd like to share that scene now because that's where it all started. So in this scene, Tiffany, the main character, is talking to her nephew Robin. And Tiffany has her eyes on Robin's gym teacher, and she wants Robin to help her to organise a date. So Tiffany prided herself on understanding her nephew Robin very well. Indeed, they had a special bond. He often declared that she was his favourite aunt. Of course, the only competition was George's sister Muriel, a cocaine-addled exotic dancer. Muriel worked the corporate entertainment circuit, and she went by the name Juanita. So by comparison, Tiffany was an eminently suitable role model for the boy. Sitting at the kitchen table on a warm Sunday morning, Tiffany was plotting her next move. Robin needed her help, and Tiffany needed Robin's help. So this was only going to end one way. Robin, Tiffany asked innocently enough, why are there 2 lumps of coal sitting on the table here? Oh no, that's not coal, Robin explained as he rummaged in his school bag. They're cookies or buns or cakes or whatever the hell Mum was trying to cook last night. Oh, I see, Tiffany replied. And tell me, what are you digging for in that mangy school bag of yours? Yeah, I need to ask you something, Tiffany. It's about gym class. Now, Tiffany knew that Robin hated gym class. His physique was more suited to the library or the mortuary. But Tiffany had to consider the wider picture. In particular, she wanted to consider the gym teacher. So, what about gym class, she asked her nephew. Well, I don't want to go to gym class tomorrow. Robin rarely lied to his aunt. He saved all his lies for his mother. So can you write me a sick note? Well, you don't look very sick to me, Tiffany argued. Well, no, sicker than usual anyway. And why can't your mother write the note? I mean, did she burn all the pens as well as the breakfast? Oh no, can we not just keep it our own little secret? Robin handed Tiffany a sheet of paper and a well-chewed pen. Well, I don't know, I'm not very comfortable with lying to your mother, Tiffany lied. Why not, Robin protested. We all lie to her. I mean, that's the only way we can survive in this house. So Tiffany understood Robin's situation. And of course, in his problem, she saw her opportunity. So, you want me to write a note to your gym teacher so you don't have to go to gym class? Yes, finally. Will you do it? Maybe. Remind me, Robin, is your gym teacher married? I don't know, I don't think so. I mean, he just shares all his time with the gym. I mean, he even gives yoga classes there in the evenings. Oh, I love yoga. Tiffany despised yoga. I should go to his class. Look, are you going to write the note or not? Robin asked. Are you going to introduce me to your gym teacher or not? Tiffany asked. They stared at each other, neither one willing to make the next move. Not just yet. Robin picked up one of the mysterious burnt delicacies from the table and began chewing, slowly. Tiffany stood up and picked up the other burnt offering, maintaining steely eye contact with her nephew. If I don't write that note, Robin, you'll have to go to gym class. Tiffany sniffed the burnt specimen and then flung it in the bin. And if you go to gym class, you'll end up in a worse state than that poor cake. Why do I have to introduce you to my sodden gym teacher? Robin asked, his mouth still full of burnt debris. I mean, all he ever does is scream and yell at me and then Robin suddenly stopped talking and began beating his chest. What's with the Tarzan routine, Robin? Tiffany inquired. Robin was desperately struggling to catch his breath as the chewed cake refused to dislodge itself from his throat. He grasped the side of the table, the sweat pouring down his forehead. Oh, are you choking, Robin? Tiffany knew enough about first aid to recognise the sign. Well, I tell you, it's a good job that I know the Heimlich manoeuvre. Well, relief washed over Robin's face. He stared at his aunt, this angel who would use the Heimlich manoeuvre to dislodge this damn cake and stop him from choking to death. Tiffany stared at her choking nephew. She began wondering, why was it called the Heimlich manoeuvre anyway? I mean, Heimlich must have been involved in it somewhere, right? I mean, was he the guy who was choking? Or did he save the guy who was choking? It was very puzzling. Oh, you're turning a very unusual colour, Robin, Tiffany remarked as she sat back down on the chair. Robin's eyes grew wider as he felt the grip of death begin to wrap around him. He tried to beg his aunt to hurry up, but all he could do was gasp desperately as his eyes watered up. Are you going to introduce me to your gym teacher? Tiffany asked, gazing nonchalantly out the window. As he slid to his knees, barely able to breathe, Robin realised that he'd never be the negotiator that his aunt was. So mere seconds away from death, he nodded weakly, indicating his willingness to agree unconditionally to all of her terms. Thank you, Robin, Tiffany said, finally standing up and coming to his rescue. Now let's get rid of that monstrosity that your mother did. So that was the first scene I wrote. And that was as far as I got with the novel for quite a few years. Whenever I had bunches of time, I'd return to Tiffany and I'd tell a little bit more of her story. But needless to say, I kept getting distracted. There were always things to do, places to go, people to see, music to listen to, movies to watch, salads to eat, yeah, right? Like the white rabbit, I seemed to be always on the move, forever late for a very important date. So the book kept getting pushed further and further down my to-do list, until it was clinging by its fingernails to the bottom of the page. And then one night a few years ago, when I probably should have been doing something more important, I was watching the sunset in all its tangerine glory. And I got to thinking about how the sun was always on time. I mean, it was never welded to the bed in the morning. It was never late for an appointment. So maybe if I could be a little bit less distracted by life, less distracted by all the endless stuff, maybe I could be a bit more like the sun, reliable, punctual, hot and a little bit dazzling. And then I might get the bloody book finished. So I looked up into the darkening clouds and I said, God, I know we're not always on speaking terms, and yeah, I know I only call you when I need something, but I really want to finish this book, and I'm just so distracted by everything that you throw in my path. I mean, really, it's kind of your fault when you think about it. But anyway, look, if it's not too much to ask, could you maybe possibly, shut down the entire world for just a few months? And then I promised to apply myself and finish the book. Have we got a deal? Well, be careful what you pray for. So when the pandemic lockdown began, I realised that I had finally run out of excuses. So it was time to finish the book. Now, of course, even during a lockdown, no writer works alone. So I'd just like to quickly thank a few people. First of all, the Irish Writers' Centre for the wonderful facilities here tonight. I want to thank Eleanor McNicholas, who provided me with great feedback while I was working on the novel. A particular thank you to my colleagues in Irish Pen, who were very supportive, especially, as I said, June, for giving me the initial push start at that workshop. And also to Leah, Catherine and Liz as well, as I was sort of reaching when the end line was finally in sight, and I was ready to say, oh, I've got far enough, no, I don't need to go that far. And just finally, as I say, managing to get to the end. Thanks to Ken Drakeford for doing the cover design and managing to make sense out of my incredibly vague descriptions. A special thank you to Emma Dunn, the most patient editor in the world. I mean, she was getting emails every 6 months saying, it's nearly finished, I promise you it's nearly finished, can I book you in? The book is dedicated to my late uncle Sean, who attended the previous book launch for Talking Squirrel Blues in Dundalk, and he really enjoyed the book launch. And then a couple of months later, I rather timidly and slightly nervously asked him if he enjoyed the book. And he said, yeah, it was good crack, which I thought was as nice a review as you could ever ask. So I'll finish up now with just another short-ish scene from the novel. Tiffany, through various machinations, has finally managed to get herself a date with Carl, the gym teacher. And their first date is about as successful as every other first date in history. So, Tiffany was glad that Carl had chosen the Loose Leaf Cafe. They could enjoy some food and chat without it feeling like they were on a proper date. No candles or nosy waiters to give the wrong impression. Just food and chat. Especially food. When she walked in the door, Tiffany realised that she was absolutely starving. And with slight irritation, she noticed that Carl was already seated at the table. So that didn't give her any time to compose herself. So she made a promise to herself to be early the next time she met Carl. Ah yes, Carl. He did look particularly perfect this evening. He was very well groomed, perhaps a little bit too well groomed, and his well-shaven face exuded the fresh glow of healthy living or expensive moisturiser. So Carl smiled a Tom Cruise beam when he saw Tiffany coming in, and Tiffany tried to reciprocate with a Julia Roberts dazzler, but it turned out a little bit deranged and awkward. Anyway, sorry I'm late, she said, I'm sorry I'm late, Carl. No problem at all. Carl continued to grin as he looked at his wristwatch/health monitor. Tiffany wasn't sure whether he was trying to ascertain exactly how late she was, or just checking his heartbeat. Don't worry about it, we can relax now, he said. Carl somehow made the word relax sound like hard work, a goal that had to be pursued with single-minded determination. So Tiffany sat down trying to relax. So, shall we order, she asked. Then looking at the menu, she remembered that this was a health food cafe, Oh no. She searched in vain for something nice on the menu. I hope you don't mind, Carl said, unleashing another blinding grin that absolutely allowed no room for minding one way or the other. I've already ordered for myself. Oh, okay. What on earth did you order? Tiffany was curious to find out how he managed to find anything appetizing on this sanctimonious menu. I ordered a Mediterranean salad and a sparkling water, Carl said, with a slice of lemon, because, you know, I was in the mood to treat myself. Tiffany, on the other hand, was in the mood for a double cheeseburger with garlic chips and a side order of pizza. However, she resigned herself to some sort of vague soup-like dish. It appeared to be as organic and self-righteous as an early morning farmer's market. So Tiffany gave her order. No, of course, a glass of sparkling water is absolutely fine for me too, and looked for ways to fill in the silence while they waited for the food. Looking for a neutral subject and trying to avoid gawping into the Caribbean depths of Carl's eyes, Tiffany mentioned that she'd been talking to Robin earlier in the day. Oh yeah, how is Robin? Carl asked. You know, we really need to find some way to build up his muscles. I mean, my God, his frame is rather delicate. Yes, Tiffany agreed. I mean, to be honest, I've seen sturdier jellyfish. But, you know, he's been slowly starved to death because his mother can't cook anything. I mean, that woman could burn an ice cube. No, I must talk to him about nutrition, Carl continued. He needs to be eating proper food. Well, I'd say at this stage he'd be delighted if he got properly cooked food. No, we have to be extremely careful about what we eat. Carl's voice was beginning to quiver with a slightly disturbing passion. We can all change our eating habits at any time, no matter how far we have let ourselves go. Tiffany recoiled slightly from the implication. However, Carl's smile was as perfectly curled as ever, so she had to assume no malice in his words. For now. The food finally arrived. The soup appeared to be a lukewarm, muddy liquid, with a sprinkling of indeterminate vegetable slices, seeds, bulbs, pips, and plastic. She sniffed it, searching in vain for an aroma. Oh wow, that looks amazing, Carl nodded towards the soup. Tasty and nutritious. Yes, it tastes really good, Tiffany lied, repressing a sudden urge to vomit as she swallowed the first tentative spoonful of the soup. I don't think I've ever tasted anything quite like it. Yeah, it's really interesting, Carl explained between enthusiastic munches of multi-green Mediterranean salad, how our bodies instinctively like the taste of foods that are good for us. Oh yes, indeed, Tiffany agreed, still battling her increasingly demanding urge to vomit. You see, you just have to listen to your body, Carl went on, clearly delighted to have such an easy opening into his favourite topic of conversation. When we mindfully prepare food, our bodies almost automatically guide us to the right ingredients so that we... Are you full already, Tiffany? You've stopped eating. Oh no, I'm just taking a moment to mindfully savour the taste. Tiffany was busy fantasising about lasagna. But it's difficult to eat healthily all the time, Carl, really, isn't it? No, not at all. The pitch in Carl's voice crept up a notch. A few other diners glanced over at him in amusement. It's easy, Tiffany, if we make the proper effort. If we get lazy or careless, of course we'll fail. It's the complacent antelope, the one that just couldn't resist that one more small Irish breakfast that morning, that gets eaten by the lion. Well, now, of course, Tiffany was thinking about Irish breakfast. And at this point, she would have gladly murdered every diner in the cafe for a few sausages and a slab of black pudding. Carl had paused in his speech in order to focus on the salad again. I like to eat mindfully, he explained. I mean, it's important to thoroughly savour the taste and chew the food before swallowing it. I see. Tiffany wondered exactly what taste there was to savour in a bloody salad. You know, Carl continued, having finally chewed and swallowed the last of the salad leaves, I can help you with your nutrition problems, Tiffany. My what? Tiffany tried to gain control of her offended eyebrows. The problem isn't with my nutrition, Carl. In fact, I think I usually make quite good choices when it comes to food. Tiffany began to suspect that she'd actually made quite a bad choice when she agreed to go on this damn date. No, we're all responsible for our own choices. Carl was developing his pitch, but we often need some guidance to help us make the right choices, a bit of direction, a mentor even. Now look, I make a lot of good choices, Tiffany said, trying not to think about her ex-boyfriend. For example, I regularly walk into hills. Yes, I suppose that's a good start, Carl amiably conceded. But you need regular exercise, a regular routine, with regular nutrition. It's a hill, Carl. Tiffany wasn't sure why she felt so defensive. I mean, it's hard work. Yes, and hard work makes us stronger. Carl was beginning to get evangelical again, oblivious to the annoyed glances from the other diners. I tell you what, Tiffany, I could put together a health regime for you, incorporating fitness, nutrition, and of course some meditation to smooth out your sharp edges. I do that for a lot of my clients. Tiffany wasn't sure whether this was a date or a sales pitch. Clients, she asked, eyebrows a-quiver again. That's very interesting, yes, I suppose. But to be honest, I'm not sure that I'm ready to take that sort of plunge. But if you want to change your life, Carl insisted, staring straight into her eyes, you must commit to change. So Tiffany, are you ready to commit? Tiffany smiled and sipped her water. She knew right then that she certainly wasn't ready to commit to Carl. Maybe it was time to commit to someone else. Anybody else. Thank you.